wonderful Friday. Good morning, Shalona. How are you?
Good morning, sister. I'm well, thank you.
Good. So who have we got today? Are we working with Rienka or Arushka?
We're working with Arushka.
Good morning, Arushka. How are you? Good.
Okay, so today's pose is Bhujang Asana. So Bhujang Asana in English is simply Cobra pose. So Arushka is going to demonstrate for us. So Arushka is going to get onto the belly. So you're going to bring your feet together, toes touching, heels touching, elbows close to the body. Fingertips in line with your shoulder. So we have to make sure the alignment is correct first. And then from there, you're going to activate the feet. No pelvic, that's it. But you're going to stretch right through to the tips of your toes. And you're going to literally push the earth away and come up. And you're going to look up. So that is Cobra pose. So we have variations on that. You can bend the elbow a little and push the earth away. And obviously just come up. So it depends on your flexibility and what you can do at that time. So if you notice this pose, it stretches the abdominal area. It stretches the chest. It also tones the arms. It tones the muscles along the back, along the spine as well. So that could aid in correcting posture. So I just got gently go back, down, and then you're going to come back onto all fours and come up to seated. So that was Bhujang Asana. And these are the benefits of it. Like I said, it may improve your posture, may improve sleep, may reduce inflammation. It also helps relieve lower back pain, but that's mild lower back pain. If you have a herniated disc or serious issues with the lower back, I would definitely not recommend you doing it. If you have injuries to the shoulders, to the wrists, definitely not a pose for you. If you had an op in the abdominal area, definitely not a pose for you. Any issues with the spine, do not attempt the pose. So yes, that's Bhujang Asana. So the story behind it's not actually a story, it's more like a representation. So if we look at Lord Shiva, who is regarded as Adi Yogi, we see that he has a snake. He has a snake adorned around his neck. So that snake is actually a symbol or represents our fears. And the venom of the snake represents the illusion. So fear is an illusion. And yet many of us face many fears. So the theory behind it is that if you come in contact with a snake, irrespective of whether it's a cobra or whatever, many of us have this natural fear of snakes. I am one of them. We want to run away from it. But if we look at it from a different perspective, then we can overcome that fear. So likewise in our lives, we face these many cobras coming our way, but maybe just change our perspective and we can overcome those fears. It's also, if you also look at Lord Shiva's son, which is Lord Ganesha, he has a cobra adorned around his waist. So that is following in the footsteps of his father in overcoming his fears. So that's why he uses it to remind him to overcome his fears. So in order for us to overcome our fears, we need to have courage. And that is why we have attached courage to Bhujang Asana. So there's another interesting story about Lord Buddha. So while he was meditating, so yogis have this calmness about them, this peacefulness about them. And snakes cannot hear, but they can feel it. So internally they feel these vibrations. So while he was sitting on this tree, under this tree, meditating, a group of snakes comes and they are attracted to this peace and the serenity that Lord Buddha has. And so they decide to sit around him. And so many people walk past and they see all of these snakes and they're afraid to approach Lord Buddha because of that fear. But they really weren't there to harm anyone. Lord Buddha sensed them, but still he did not have fear. He continued with his meditation. Eventually, at some point, it started raining. And the people wanted to, gathered in that area, wanted to protect him and cover him, give him some sort of shelter. But because they were afraid of the snakes, they didn't. But the King Cobra, because he was grateful for the energy or for the vibe that Lord Buddha created, he goes behind him and lifts a third of his body off the ground and spreads his hood over him, thus providing him shelter. So that shows to me that if we change our perspective when it comes to our fears, then we can really overcome any challenge. And yes, sometimes a fear can be so daunting. It can be, you know, when you're in a situation and where fear controls you. So I've been in a situation recently. Now I can laugh about it. But a few months ago, it was actually the day before Shivratri, and we were sitting on the cricket field and we were just enjoying the game. And at some point, a snake actually came and coiled itself on my lap and was sitting, and I didn't even know it was sitting. It wasn't a very big snake, but it was a snake, and I have a fear of snakes. And as we were watching, at some point, I look down and I see the snake coiled and sitting on my lap. So he probably wanted to watch the cricket match as well. But needless to say, I was like in extreme fear. The fear really engulfed me. I still remember the feeling, and I got up. And as I got up, the snake fell on my leg and it created this weird sensation. And that fear literally had me shaking. So the first thought that came to my mind was actually, why aren't these people killing the snake, you know? And that's not a nice thing to say, but my fear actually wanted someone to kill that innocent snake. But we have no right to take the life of something that we did not create. So when I look at it now in hindsight, and when I think about it, I think how sad of me, you know, how cruel of me to actually want to take away the life of an innocent snake, when really it was just my fear and I needed to conquer that fear. So that's where courage comes in. We need to look at our fears from a different perspective. And when we look at it from a different perspective, we get a clearer view of it. And like I said earlier, the venom is just an illusion, represents the illusion. So we are basically living in a world of Maya, and which is illusion. And we just need to gain the courage to overcome our fears. So that's my take on Bhujangas.
Well done. You know, it's interesting that you kind of took that whole angle. But I wanted to just share, when you think about fear and courage, is like, first of all, when we think about putting ourselves into a position where we don't feel we have the full potential. So like physically, I could be, built in a very weak way. When I say weak, I mean, I'm not physically strong, but internally, I know what I can achieve. And maybe for those who have like heard this example, apologies, but you know, when you think about in the Bible, the story about David and Goliath, Goliath actually had created such a turmoil that actually it was like a war that was waged to kill him, you know, and everyone went to war just to kind of destroy him. And, you know, people, because the Goliath was very huge, it was it was that way that made it even worse, because people really felt they needed physical strength to combat him. And David, on the other hand, was just so physically meek that said to him to stay at home and look after the sheep. But in looking after the sheep, he had to kind of face lions and wolves, because they would be the predators for the sheep. And so he learned to use the sling to kind of chase them away. And so he was dealing with lions and wolves, for example. And so anyway, he was able to, from a very far distance, aim so that he would be able to chase away these animals. So he kind of understood. And, you know, when we look at a lion, it's a huge creature, actually. And so what I found so amazing is that because David had the practical experience, physically, nobody actually had confidence in him. But he knew internally what he's capable of. So first of all, when he went to the king to say he wants to fight, the king said, oh, at least you need an armor suit, because you'll be totally, you know, destroyed. So when the king puts his armor onto to David, David actually falls down, because that suit was so heavy and David is such a small chappy. And in any case, what happens is that they really were like teasing him and saying, you can't really be serious wanting to kill the Goliath. But for whatever it's worth, eventually he went onto the field and he took his sling with. And the beautiful thing is that he never had to be within 5 meter distance of the Goliath. So he could stand really far away. And when he shot his sling, he hit him on the head and he dropped him. Now, when they analyzed the whole story, what was interesting is that the Goliath was actually blind. He could only see what was within 5 meters of his proximity. So if you were standing far away, he couldn't have attacked you, actually. And so this illusion that you're talking about, that, you know, when something like a snake, for example, that we think can, you know, really do something harmful to us, actually the snake would have only responded to you if it felt agitated and fear from you. So the fact that when you were looking at the cricket and being also happy, your vibe was so good that the snake was attracted to sit in your lap. Now that alone tells you that how can something come and sit in your lap and be comfy if it was going to harm you? You know, so that those are like quite nice things for us to really think about, you know. I mean, I know in retrospect, it's easier to kind of see, but it's like we need to prepare our understanding in such a way that when it happens again, if I tell myself, okay, this snake is coming to me because it must like my vibes. And the story that you spoke about, Lord Buddha, is that the Cobra actually created a canopy because of the vibrations that were created. So the first thing is that these creatures, creation of God, are very susceptible to our vibration. And this is where spirituality is so important, that before we meet anyone, we're actually sending out our vibrations. And I think in difficult situations, don't go in there thinking of the problem. But I would say go into the situation with your full presence of energy and lovely vibrations, so that when you meet the person or the situation, you're coming with it with your full capacity. And we speak about thoughts, words, and deeds. So we normally are very aware of the tangible deeds that we do. We also are quite accountable for the words that we speak. But we become very careless about the thoughts that we create, because we think nobody is hearing those thoughts. There are something happening inside. But every time I create a thought, it actually creates inside of me a feeling, and that feeling generates a vibration, which is what people are actually really going to respond to. So, I really love this whole idea that, if we could not get so body conscious, and literally it is, if we get body conscious, we start looking at the physical things of people, things, situation, and get very engrossed in a gross way. And that moves us away from the real power. And the real power is actually the energy that we're transmitting. So just think about it. You can embrace a snake by being peaceful. And that kind of tells us a lot, isn't it? That we don't have to be strong or powerful. We need to be peaceful, loving people. And that's our protection. And maybe just a quick one in terms of a story about the founder of our organization, Brahma Baba. Something very incredible happened to him. When he started really starting these discourses, people got a little bit agitated with him because women were being empowered. And so in the 1936 time, it was definitely a very patriarchal system, and males were not that in favor of women starting to become more independent, finding their own happiness. And so they decided that, we need to put an end to this guy because he's kind of influencing our women in the wrong way. And so they had actually got an assassinator to go to him and to kill him. So it was a man who was given a knife, and it was at nighttime. He managed to pass through all the gates and everything, and he came into the room where Brahma Baba was sleeping. But his way of sleeping was not like, that slumber. He obviously slept in a very beautiful, peaceful way. And so as he was sleeping, this gentleman, whoever was there to kill him, got such a nice vibration from him that he actually had a vision of the deity that he used to worship. And when he saw, because of the feelings that were created, those vibrations that created, he got such a shock. He thought, I'm here to kill my own person I worship. And the shock of that made him drop the knife or the dagger. And as he dropped the dagger, he was already in Brahma Baba's face. And so Brahma Baba, as he woke up, he said, child, do you need something? And the whole process of that, when I'm in my mind peaceful, I don't react to anybody, how you are protected by your own virtues. And I think that that's really beautiful, that if we keep doing the work of adorning ourselves with our goodness, we will have nothing to fear. And we will have the courage to face life, because nothing is going to come in my way if I am only giving off good energy. It's also the law of cause and effect. What I put out will definitely come back to me as well. So there's so many wonderful things. I think courage for me is, I don't know if anything, I like to call it my pet quality. So the card today that is describing courage is, I remain confident and fearless in any situation that may challenge my skills or physical capacity. So it's a very physical thing here. So having courage is a sign of trust in my inner values and being, reinforces my faith in the truth, which is the divine source, and maintains my state of enthusiasm. And further, I like to always share that, when you think about being enthusiastic and theos, I'm engaged in that connection with the truth, with the one who is divine. If I'm always in the company of the divine, can anything actually make me feel threatened or insecure or even bring about fear? So Shalona, before we meditate, do you have any thoughts, any closing remarks?
No, I think I've said all, but yes, I will say my fear of snakes is still there. So they can be in their environment and I'll be in mine, and we can live in peace.
But the beauty is, it's nice to tell yourself that, and if you use that idea that it was attracted to you, it already gives you confidence that you already have a good energy. And you were, I'm sure, when you were on that cricket field watching your daughters, you must have been happy and excited. So the energy you were giving off was that, and that was your protection, because it could have hurt you if it needed to, right?
Mhm.
So what I would take from that is that just maintain always a happy, positive way, and that will protect you from snakes, from biting you. Wherever they may be, you know. We may even have snakes in the form of conniving personalities sometimes, but no one can hurt me or deceive me if I remain happy and peaceful.
I guess for me, it's in the past few years, I've actually had quite a few encounters with snakes. And the biggest one was a Mozambican spitting cobra, which was not too far from my front door. And it actually was living in that space. And we didn't know until one of the neighbors saw it. So I became a little paranoid as well, because every time I come downstairs to do my yoga meditation, I'd like look under the couches, make sure everything's clear, and then I'd continue with my practice. But after that incident, like I said, you know, we changed our perspective. When I came back, I really thought about it, because it wasn't a very big snake. It was like maybe from the middle finger to the elbow. So it was fairly young. And my initial thought of actually killing it, I actually felt ashamed of myself, because how can I do that to a baby? You know, because it may not be a human, but it's a baby nonetheless, and I have no right to do that. So I was actually ashamed of myself. So no, I would not want to kill an animal or a snake or a reptile or anything of that sort, but rather, if I fear it, I maintain my distance. And like you said, just be peaceful and just continue.
I mean, look, we can't lock up all the time, and you know, where are we going to run to? We're going to become prisoners. But if we live with the right consciousness, you know, that I'm not harming anything, I'm not like I also think to myself, like, you know, when you're doing certain things and you find yourself being singled out, and I don't like to use the word alone, but you know, basically there's no other support around the place. And in moments like that, I just tell myself, you know what, the universe knows how to respond to me, because I have invested the right energy, and so it will come to me. So I never, even when I have a huge task to do, I don't dread it thinking, oh my God, I'm going to labor. I don't, because I find that with the most incredible things that I have to sometimes be responsible for, when and how the help comes is incredible. And sometimes I'm sitting at a junction, and no one is volunteering to come and help, or no one is saying anything. But I don't think that that's where it stops. I think, well, that's where it is at the moment. But when it's going to happen, let's see what happens. And I'm completely always astounded by how it falls into place. So brilliant. Let's meditate then. So I invite you to just take a few deep breaths and look into the mirror of your heart and examine the purity of intention, the clarity of purpose, the kindness of my feelings. As I observe myself from this inner dimension, I begin to create a deep sense of trust. I understand that I, this beautiful being of energy, is in fact a being that is innately in a space of goodness, that the very core of my being is pure, full of peace, full of wisdom, wise, and powerful. And by recognizing myself to be this, I step into the light of my own power. I know that I am the master creator of my world. I have to my disposal the power of action, and these actions are performed through the words I speak, the deeds I perform, and the thoughts that I think. And each action is like a beautiful seed of energy that gets accumulated within my own being. And as these seeds accumulate and gather, I gain the momentum and power to live in this world with confidence and ease. I have nothing to fear. By paying attention to my present thought, word, and deed, I am in fact creating a powerful store of goodness. And in an environment of goodness, I can only attract that which is positive, that which is pure, and that which is benevolent. Just taking a moment and looking into this inner world of mine, I'm completely reassured and have full faith and trust that by living my life from the inside out, by allowing each action to be decorated with virtues and powers and the qualities of my inner being, the only fruit I will receive through those actions will be that of peace, love, happiness, joy, wisdom, and power. So I enjoy this moment, but also look forward to experiencing the fruit of my present actions. Om Shanti. Have a powerful day.